Hello Milena. In this screencast, I'll give feedback to your evidence paragraph from last week. Let me say first of all, I understand that you didn't have a model to work with. This is the first time you wrote a paragraph like this, so given that, it's actually quite a good paragraph because you've tried to identify the three main areas quite well, I would say. So let's get into the specifics of this paragraph. Now first, here you basically say what they're using a graph. Now this is very good information, and this would be very nice to include in the identification paragraph. In the final exam, remember how we're using a separate, we're putting the identification in a separate paragraph, so this is very good for that. And then you start with the analysis. You're saying that it's not sufficient since you did not specify the information about which country he's talking about and which college. I think the implication is that he's talking about America and he's talking about colleges in general. So I'm not very sure if that's sufficient or not. Maybe, yeah, you can say that it's not sufficient, as you have said. That's not a problem. But it's not because it's not clear which country it is from or which college. We are assuming it's about all colleges in general in America, and so that wouldn't be the problem. Now, you still have to come up with a reason why it would not be sufficient. Well, first of all, we start with the supporting idea. That's very, very important. If you're just saying he's showing that 18% of women are in computer science, then that's just a simple fact. It's very hard to prove that this graph is not relevant and so forth, and not representative and so on. But if you think of which supporting idea he is proving with that, then you may attack the evidence as not relevant, not sufficient, and so forth. So the first important step is what supporting idea is he proving here with this graph? Remember in the video when he showed the graph and he said, look, women, very few of them are in tech for whatever reason. A lot of them just choose not to go to tech because they have other opportunities. For whatever reason, they just do not choose IT. And then he proves that with this graph. But his larger point, his larger supporting idea, is that women are, even though they're more capable of, they as capable as men, sometimes even more in the tech field, yet for some reason they do not choose the tech field. Why? And one of the reasons he says is because women, because they have a choice, they're free to choose, they often opt for humanities, for instance. Now, if that's the supporting idea, imagine that this is the supporting idea, then you can attack this graph and saying, okay, fine, it does show that only 18% of women are in computer science, but that does not prove the supporting idea that women choose, that 18% of them choose computer science and no more than 18 because they're free to choose other things. That doesn't prove that. So that's how you can attack it. Do you see? You can attack the link of this graph to the supporting message. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Because if you just attack the statistic itself, it's kind of difficult. You see, you're just attacking a number or a figure here. It's not so easy to do it. Okay. So I would just say here, instead of attacking it along the lines that we don't know the country or the college, really think about the supporting idea. And that's what we start with. We always start with the supporting idea. That's the most important thing, because the evidence will be evaluated as sufficient, relevant, or representative always in relation to the supporting idea that it is trying to prove. You see? In addition, the graph is not relevant since the audience is not provided with information about the year in which the study was conducted. Now this I can take. We're not very sure. Is this graph current? Is this really? So I can buy that. As a result of which the graph was compiled. I think I can buy that. Relevance also has to do with how current it is. Maybe if the information is old, if it's, I don't know, 15 years old, then it's not so relevant. I'll buy that. But again, it would be better if you analyze the relevance in relation to the supporting idea, right? So I think that's a very good point actually you're making here. Sometimes this works very well to attack the currency. It's just not current, so it's not relevant. You can do that. I think that's a good idea. For instance, in this week's small group tutorial, when we were talking about the immigration paper, one of the papers was from 2011, and a lot of things have happened since then. There have been waves of immigration from Syria to the European Union. There have been all kinds of migrations. Sorry, my computer. There have been all kinds of migrations in between, and that information seems very dated. It's already old information, and you can attack it along the lines of relevancy and say it's not relevant. So sometimes it works. Also, this graph is not representative since the topic of diversity is considered by the author in relation to all women. Okay, I'm lost here. But we do not know which sample group was involved in the study and whether this group can represent all women. Yeah, you're really kind of fishing very deep here, trying to find ways. I'm not very sure about this one. I like the relevance part, but this one I'm not sure. We do not know which sample group was involved in the study and whether yeah, I'm not sure it was even a study. I think it's just talking about this is the general situation in American colleges. 18% are women, and that's it. It's not about a study or anything like that. So yeah, I'm not very sure you can attack that number, the 18%, in terms of representativeness in that way. Without a supporting idea, it's very difficult to do that. So, but I applaud your attempt. You really did your best. Again, you didn't have a model to work with, and you really tried. So I think just the attempt, what you did, I think is absolutely commendable. Again, if you had the supporting idea, then you could very easily say, well, it's not really representative because it cannot. How do we know that blah blah blah? You know that these women are typical of all women who have a freedom to choose. You know, something like that. Again, imagine the idea was the supporting idea was women do not choose IT simply because they have freedom in developed countries like the US, and they usually, when they have freedom, they choose something else. For instance, humanities, where they think of themselves as more capable. Then you could say, well, sure, but why does this number represent the freedom of women and so forth, you know, the freedom to choose other fields and so forth. You could sort of do it that way. With a supporting idea, it's much easier to criticize. But again, I really applaud your effort. You tried very well here. In conclusion, specifying the source to the graph does not make it easier to find a specific study to clarify. Yeah, you don't need any of this, by the way. In a paragraph, you will not have space for in conclusion or to begin with, or just go straight. After you're finished with representativeness, that's it. And here, you're really looking to find fault with the he didn't include a year. Okay, that's fine, but I think it's not so much about whether he included a year or whether it's academic or whether he shows it on the screen versus, I don't know, he took it from somewhere. That's not so important. What's important is in representativeness in particular is it typical? Is the example typical in this case? It's very hard to argue with this figure, by the way. 18% of women are in computer science. How can you? The only way you can say it's not representative is if you think it in relation to the supporting idea. Let's say that they didn't choose computer science because they have the freedom to not choose it. Then you can say maybe these women are not representative or something like that. You see? But it's very difficult to write a paragraph by attacking a specific number. I think go back to the model and you will see that usually the way to write this paragraph more easily is to attack an idea, not so much a number, a statistic, right? There is another model coming up next week. Hopefully that will help you as well. If you have any queries, please stop by my office hour. I'd be more than happy to help next Wednesday. So you will have 2 models to work with. Next week we will also do another round in the mock exam. So hopefully things will be more clear. But at least I'm seeing a very good effort here. So you're working with the terminology. My general impression here is that because you attacked a number, and that's very, very difficult to start from that. If your starting point is a supporting it will be much easier. If you start from a number, then you really have to, it's little things that, yeah, I'm not so sure. Is the year included, or that kind of thing? Does he show it on the screen? Those kinds of things are kind of trivial, right? But overall, good effort. Okay, Milena, I hope this is helpful to you, and good luck.